Good morning. Welcome to the annual meeting of At Home in Darien for 2021. I am Susan Baroud, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all here on behalf of the Board of Directors. Good morning. It's nice to see all of you in the room. Some of you, the majority, are probably watching us online in Zoom format, and we certainly appreciate your attendance at this meeting. Should you have a question at the end of our speaker's talk, I have been instructed to tell you that you may submit your questions in the chat format on your screen. So submit your questions, they will come here. We are at the Darien Library in the auditorium, but your questions will be read here and submitted to our speakers. So that lets you participate as well. In the meantime, the board joins me in sincerely thanking the Darien Library for both their hospitality and their technical expertise in this dual format today, particularly Elizabeth Maricola, who we are most grateful for your help in pulling this whole meeting together. This has been a most successful year for At Home in Darien, in spite of having to stay flexible to accommodate changing circumstances. Possibly our most significant accomplishment occurred within the last few weeks when we became the recipient of a substantial grant from the Darien Foundation. While I will have Gina Blum give you all the details of this, on behalf of the entire board, I sincerely thank the foundation for their generosity and for this wonderful, wonderful gift that is truly a tangible acknowledgement of our current relevance and our future growth within the Darien community. Today, we are honored to host Willem Tong, the Attorney General of the state of Connecticut, as our guest speaker. He has recently helped establish the Elder Justice Hotline, which has been described as a one-stop shop for older adults in Connecticut in need of information, aid, and justice. We are delighted to have him with us, explaining this new service for Connecticut seniors, and it's right up our alley. So everything he talks about is what we are working to promote. Before this presentation, we must begin with a brief business meeting. So I would like to call the meeting to order right now. The board is familiar with the minutes, I hope, of our last meeting on November 17th. If I could have a motion to approve those minutes. Jim, and a second. Peter, thank you. All in favor? The board also has had an opportunity to look at our budget for 2022. If there is no further discussion, a motion to approve that. John? And a second, thank you very much. All in favor? Bob, seconded. At this time, I would like to, this is our changing of the guard time, so I would like to recognize 3 departing board members. And as I call their name, if you could just come up here, only 2 of the 3 are with us today. The first is MS Coley, who joined last year and has been a board member for the past year, and we've been most grateful for his service. And the second is John Bartlett, who has been on the board since 2016, and we're very grateful for his help. We have a small token of both of you. And you can use the water bottles to publicize At Home in Darien throughout town. So thank you very much. And now I would like to ask Tamsin Sickener to introduce our new board member. Tamsin?
Morning. I first would like to just do a quick bio of our new board member, Barbara Scanlon Jessup. Many of you may know her from the community. Barbara, after a lengthy career as a CAO and Chief People Officer in several Wall Street firms, established the Scanlon Group a few years back. As founder and president, she works with clients to address people and culture challenges, including leadership coaching, HR policy, and talent management. Barbara currently serves as a trustee on the board of Lemoyne College in Syracuse and has been an avid advocate and career advisor, especially for first-generation college students. Additionally, she volunteers for the Pivot House and the Triangle Community Center, both in Norwalk. Barbara holds an undergraduate degree from Lemoyne, double majoring in English and French, and a Master of Arts in Organizational Psychology from Columbia University Teachers College. When she can, Barbara and her husband can be found sailing around Long Island Sound. They have 3 grown sons and 2 puppies. So, the At Home in Darien Nominating Committee submits the following nominations for the 2022 Board of Directors. For the class of 2022, a term of 1 year, Peter Carnes. For the class of 2024, a term of 3 years, Barbara Scanlon Jessup. For the 2022 Executive Board, a term of 2 years, William Carney, Vice President of Services, Monica Billiter, Vice President, Governance and Nominating, and Tamsin Sickinger as Secretary. Finally, appointed our ex officio members, which is a term of 1 year, Elizabeth Maricola, Head of Programming, Darien Library, Beth Paris, who's the Director of Darien Senior Programs at Mather Center, Allie Ramsteck, Director of Human Services. Do I have a motion to approve the election of the aforementioned names to the At Home in Darien 2022 Board of Directors? Thank you, Robin. And a second? Thank you, Bob. All in favor? Great, thank you. You're all set.
I realized I neglected to mention a third board member who is going off the board. It is Allison Wright, who has been our secretary for the last year, and she will be leaving the board after, I think, 4 or 5 years. I'm a little vague. Allison could not be with us this morning. Finally, we must approve a corporate resolution. I believe the board has all had an opportunity to read this. I will not read it through. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution? Peter, thank you. A second? Bob again. Thanks very much. All in favor of the corporate resolution? Thank you. And now, without further ado, I will leave the floor to our wonderful executive director, Gina Blum, and she can give you an update on our past year. Thank you.
Everybody, thank you so much for being here, those of you virtually and those in person. Oh, and I'm so sorry I forgot about that. That's become such a habit, right, to wear that mask. So thank you all for being here, participating in our meeting. And thank you again to the library for making this At Home in Darien meeting possible today. Last year, I reflected on 2020, that it had been a year like no other. And while 2021 has been better with regard to the pandemic due to vaccinations and booster shots and all the education that we have been made aware of, it continues to impact all of us. And it continues to make the point that we need to assist senior citizens. It's of the utmost importance. Connecticut is an aging state, and our senior population is growing faster than the general population. The mission of At Home in Darien is to help seniors live independently, comfortably, and with dignity in their own homes and the community as long as possible. Our community is at the forefront of the aging in place movement, which is this nationwide trend based on what people want: to live in their homes safely and independently as they age. Living at home means being a part of the community, and our goal is to keep them connected. So our members are all the seniors 60 plus who live in town, some 3,000 people, which is about 15% of the population. No fees to become a member, no fees for services. The services we provide are essential. They are transportation, grocery shopping, pickup and delivery of prescriptions, telephone contact, advice, referrals, and customized assistance as needed. This year, At Home in Darien saw an increase in services provided to seniors over last year, but we are nowhere near where we were pre-pandemic. And this is due to limited in-person activities and a general concern for safety. But the services that we have provided have never been more important, more essential, and more critical. We serve as a lifeline to many seniors who count on us. Our staff is outstanding, and I want to recognize those that are here today. So Michelle Tracy, who works alongside me in the office and checked you in at the door, and I don't see her there. Is she? Maybe we can have her poke in and wave. Is fantastic. There's Michelle. Sorry you're not on Zoom, but sorry. And also in the back row there is Jane Matthews, our driver. Our head driver who usually we'll see behind the wheel of one of the vehicles every day of the week. So thank you. My most sincere thanks to both of you. I couldn't do it without you. You've been great to help all of this community. I must also acknowledge the generosity of our volunteers who are an integral part of our team. Volunteers have done amazing hands-on work this year. Grocery shopping, making phone calls, visiting, giving rides, doing small chores and other helpful tasks. And we also have hundreds of volunteers who just finished fall leaf raking for seniors and a whole other crew who's ready to start on shoveling of public sidewalks as well. So kudos to all our volunteers for their dedication to seniors. At Home in Darien was formed through community cooperation more than a dozen years ago and has always enjoyed and valued the relationships that we have with other local organizations. From our board of directors that includes the 3 ex officio members representing Darien organizations essential to our success. You just heard them reelected. It's Darien Human Services, the Senior Center, and the library. To our collaborative efforts that we hope to safely resume next year, such as our annual luncheon with the Darien Community Association, Dementia Friends programming, our efforts to engage Darien's youth through the coordination with the school system, through their sports programs, through music and arts programs, and the kids' care clubs. We also engage with the 3 assisted living facilities in town and many local businesses who offer discounts and incentives to our members, and other agencies that help us deliver important services to Darien seniors like home safety evaluations, which we do through the Family and Children's Agency. We also value our involvement with the Darien Commission on Aging and Human Services Planning Council, and of course the town of Darien. We're also very honored to have in attendance today some of our elected officials. I see State Representative Terry Wood. There's a lot of people I know attending via Zoom, and I thank all of you for participating. It's important, and we thank you for your support. In true partnership, we work with about 20 local organizations each month to share a variety of virtual and in-person programs through our monthly calendar of events. We email it and mail it each month to over 1,000 homes. In order to keep seniors and the community informed, we create and mail the Out and About newsletter, which I have one of these. You should probably see this all in your mailboxes each 3 times a year. And we continue to provide a comprehensive website where one can find up-to-date information. Our monthly blog is going strong. You may have read a few months ago on the launch of the Elder Justice Hotline, which we'll hear more about later. As for social media, please friend us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram, which we launched this year, due in part to some high school interns who helped with that. And we've also partnered in a podcast, Now We're Talking Darien, which should be released next week, and I hope you get a chance to listen to that. In celebrating seniors this year, we mailed out more than 1,200 birthday cards to seniors who are 75 or better. And plus there's a membership card, it's kind of like this, that every Darien resident gets when they turn 60. So something to look forward to if you're not 60 yet, but you should be carrying it around to receive special incentives, discounts, and perks around town. And it's another opportunity for seniors to get out and about into the community and be appreciated. So At Home in Darien had a very strong year, and we are most delighted to announce today what I consider the most amazing holiday gift ever to the community. You may have seen it on your way in, and if not, please notice it on your way out or around town in the months and years ahead. Through the generosity of the Darien Foundation, At Home in Darien has a new handicap accessible vehicle. And it's not just any vehicle, it's a state-of-the-art Toyota Sienna hybrid wheelchair accessible van, which will enable seniors and disabled members of our community a safer and more comfortable ride. It has the latest in accessibility features, including a side entry ramp, which kneels down to offer a moderate incline for wheelchair passengers. And those passengers who are dependent on assistive devices like walkers, canes, anything, can now easily enter the vehicle using these devices. So we're very excited about this. Yeah. It's also a hybrid, fuel efficient model that will save us money at the pump, and it's attractive and discreet so that passengers may ride with dignity. We are incredibly grateful to the Darien Foundation for this new van. They are an exceptional partner, and we are extremely fortunate for their generous response to this community's needs. As a private nonprofit organization, At Home in Darien depends on generous grants as this and on private donors. We offer our services for free to the community. I thank those of you who are our supporters. We couldn't do it without you. And we greatly appreciate your generosity, and we count on your continued support. If you haven't had the chance to support us yet, please feel free to do so. Visit our website at athomeindarien.org. You allow us to provide these important services that mean the world to people right here in Darien. I'm fortunate to help these people and hear firsthand every day their gratitude. While we have spent this year doing the important work of getting seniors to essential medical appointments, to vaccinations, to booster shots, and have done their grocery shopping, picking up and delivering prescriptions or lunches, or assisting in countless other ways, nothing makes me happier than to help seniors to stay connected to the activities they love. So I want to tell you just briefly about Marie. She is a 90-something frequent rider, and she's the sweetest. And while she takes a lot of rides to the dentist, she is always looking to play bridge. She will call me and say, do you think you might be able to take me to such and such club on Thursday? And she calls every week like clockwork and asks in the same sweet way. And we make sure we give her a ride whenever she wants to go. Keeping seniors connected, helping to prevent isolation, and helping them to live happily and independently is what At Home in Darien is all about. So today I'm delighted to introduce our guest speaker, Attorney General Willem Tong. As Attorney General, his top priority is to protect Connecticut families, residents, and consumers. Attorney General Tong recently helped establish the Elder Justice Hotline, which we spoke about and you'll hear more about. He previously practiced for 18 years as a litigator in both state and federal courts, first at Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett in New York City, and then at Finn Dixon and Hurling in Stamford. He served for 12 years as state representative in the Connecticut General Assembly, where he served as House Chairman on the Judiciary Committee as well as the Banking Committee. Please join me in welcoming him today.
Thank you. Good morning. Take my mask off. There's Terry. More importantly, I served for 12 years in the Connecticut General Assembly, and halfway through so 10 years ago in 2011, we did redistricting. And it was in that redistricting that I was traded. I represented Stamford, And at that time, I represented New Canaan. I was traded by New Canaan to Darien. So I represented Darien for 6 years, and it's great to be with my longtime colleague, Terry Wood. Gina, I think I was here a bunch of times. We had a different name at one point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Before At Home. What was the name before?
Aging in Place.
Aging in Place.
Yes. A long one.
It was a long name, but still a great organization. It's great to be with all of you. Let me first say that I hope all of you and your families have been safe and healthy. Connecticut is in pretty good shape. For a while there, we led the country in the rate of vaccination and low rates of infection and low rates of hospitalization and death. Unfortunately, with Omicron and the changing weather, that's gone up a little bit. We've been bouncing around 6%, 8%, and that's up from, you know, a low of less than 2% for a long stretch. But relative to the rest of the country, Connecticut is one of the safest states in the country with respect to the pandemic. And I think that's due to all of you and frankly, people watching here and older Americans, older folks living here in Connecticut who have taken this pandemic really seriously. And I think we can just be proud of our friends and our neighbors and our family for getting vaccinated, getting your boosters, wearing your masks, social distancing, and doing what we have to do to keep each other safe. So it's my honor now to be your Attorney General. I'm 3 years in. I can't believe I'm almost through my first term. And one of the most important things I do as your Attorney General is consumer protection and protect all of us from a variety of scams and frauds and everyday attacks on all of us that come through in-person scams and in-person frauds and robocalls and emails and text messages. It just feels like every day there's a new way that people try to trick us. And as part of that, fraudsters and scammers target older Americans, seniors. They target all of us, by the way, and they don't really discriminate, but they do focus on seniors. And unfortunately, there has been a surge in elder abuse, elder fraud, and the need to put together even more law enforcement resources. So we talk about services, right? And the rides and meals and bridge playing and activities that At Home and other organizations provide across the state. But unfortunately, there's been a greater need for law enforcement like me to step in and to protect people from various scams and frauds. This annual, on an annual basis, this costs our country more than $36 billion in terms of damage to people and seniors from financial fraud. Unfortunately, more than 1 in 10 older Americans are the subject of financial or physical abuse. And I don't have to tell you that most of that comes at the hands of someone they know or are close to, often family, often friends and family. Upwards of 60% of abuse and neglect cases are perpetrated by a family member. And so keep that in mind. And one of the reasons why we started the Elder Justice Hotline is because in many cases of abuse, be it elder abuse or fraud, domestic violence, you know, these crimes and frauds and scams are perpetrated by people they're close to, and there's often a disinclination to report, right? Because it's a spouse or a son or daughter or a relative, and people feel boxed in, that they can't reach out to somebody else for help. And so we wanted to make sure that people understood that they should report, they can do so safely, because only 1 in 23 cases of abuse are reported to authorities. And that's a very low number. So what kind of fraud and abuse are we talking about? Well, first, there's physical abuse. And that does happen. It happens more than you think. It happens all over. It happens even in communities like Darien. So no community is immune from scams or fraud, and no community is immune from physical abuse, domestic violence. And it's incumbent upon all of us who are not victims or who are survivors to keep your eyes and ears attuned to what's happening in the community. And if you see somebody who's struggling and you suspect they may be a victim of physical or emotional abuse, you should encourage them to report. So let me just stop right there, and for people on the screen, give you the numbers that people should call. So the Elder Justice Hotline is a hotline that I established in my office because, you know, in this day and age, what's great is that there are so many services that we didn't have a generation ago. What's hard is that there's so many services, right? And you don't necessarily know who to call when for whatever problem you're having, and who can keep them all straight. I can tell you that. And we work with a long list of agencies. I'm looking here on my phone here where I have my notes. There's more than 20 agencies, state agencies, that have some role in helping people, protecting people from abuse, physical or financial abuse. And so it can be difficult to identify who you're supposed to talk to. So the Office of the Attorney General now has an Elder Justice Hotline, one stop. And whatever is going on in your life, if we can point you in the right direction, find the right state or local agency to help you, or if we can help you, we will. And so Peter over here is my special assistant and deputy director of constituent affairs in my office. He mans the Elder Justice Hotline along with other members of our staff. Before the pandemic, we had a number of senior volunteers. There was a senior volunteer corps that came into the office and did a lot of this work for us. Because of the pandemic, it's been hard to get people in the office, but I'm hoping that those volunteers will come back. It's a bit of a drive from Darien, but if you want to participate, let us know. The Elder Justice Hotline number is 1-860-808-5555. That's 860-808-5555. My email is attorney.general@ct.gov, attorney.general@ct.gov. As always, your state representative, Terry Wood, will have this information as well. So if you can't find the number, somebody in Terry's office can put you in touch with our office. There's also, I will add, a elderly protective services unit at the Department of Social Service. And that's 1-888-385-4225, 1-888-385-4225. So I've talked about physical and emotional abuse. That's not hard to understand. Everybody understands that that can happen. Please encourage people that you think may be victims to call these numbers. If you yourself find yourself in an unsafe situation, don't be afraid to call. And I'm sure, Gina, you know, if you get those calls, you can route them to us. Let me just close with a few comments about other types of fraud and abuse that we should all be on the lookout for. So at this time of year, it's really important that all of us be extra vigilant about scams and fraud. Why? Because all of us are in a giving mood, right? It's the holidays. And this is when we tend to think about, well, what has my charitable giving been like this year? Have I given to everybody I want to give to? Or I see something on the news that affects me deeply and personally, and I want to reach out and help somebody. One of the things that I work on a great deal that you may see in the paper, on the news, is confronting the opioid and addiction crisis. that's something that also touches every community. And so there are a number of nonprofits and charities that are out there that are there to help all of us give and serve other people. Fraudsters and scammers know this, okay? And so they will stop at nothing to send you a text, send a robocall, an email, or just physically come up to you somewhere and say, hey, would you like to help this group or that group of people? Give us money. And they can scam you out of a lot of money at this time of year. So if you get a phone call or an email or a text message and somebody says, will you give $100, $500 or more to this charity? If you've never given to them before, you don't recognize that person, but you want to give, say thank you, take the information, hang up the phone, don't respond to the email, and you make your own inbound call or email that you initiate, okay? So that's just, it's kind of sad that we have to think that way, but be skeptical. And if you want to give, do help your neighbors, but make that initiative yourself. Don't respond to somebody else asking you. It's my job, by the way, to enforce our state's charitable giving laws, which is why this is a really important part of my job every day. Understand also that there's probably a list of scams that are far too numerous to enumerate here, but there are a variety of automated robocall, email, and text scams that happen outside of the holidays. So robocalls that may sound like, for example, a robocall that may sound like it's coming from Eversource. Okay, and if you've ever called Eversource because you have a power outage, the automated recording, the voice has a certain tenor, tone, and cadence to it, right? And it's kind of hypnotic, and it's the way for them to tell you they can't help you right now. But unfortunately, we've seen robocalls and scams where they mimic what the Eversource recording sounds like. So you get a call and it says, William Tong, you haven't paid your bill in 2 months, you need to give us your credit card number right now. And it sounds just like Eversource. So again, if you get a call like that, be careful. No one's going to call you on the phone who's legitimate and ask you for money right there and then. Even if they're a legitimate charity, you always have the option to call them yourselves and to initiate that. Other scams are financial scams. So I will tell you about a really tough, savvy senior who got scammed, my mother. My mother is about as tough and immigrant businesswoman as you will meet. She and my dad immigrated to Connecticut. They ran a Chinese restaurant. They managed real estate. If she were here, you would not think you could get anything past my mom. But they rent some apartments that they own, and my mom, not that long ago, got an inquiry by email from someone who said that he lived in the United Kingdom and he wanted to rent an apartment. And my mom said, okay, well, here's the security deposit and first month's rent. And he said, great, I'll send you a check. And he sent her a check, and my mom got the check, and it was for too much money. So she wrote him an email and said, hey, you sent me too much money. He said, oh, geez, I screwed that up. Why don't you wire me the difference between what I actually owe you and the amount of the check, okay? And you can just go deposit the check and we're square. And then I'll come to the US in a month or two and take the apartment. Did my mom wire the money? Of course she did. Again, tough, smart, savvy businesswoman. You would never get anything by my mother, but she fell for it. And she was out several $1,000s. And that's a common scam, this overpayment scam. So I tell you that story because even though my mom doesn't like it when I tell that story, Well, I tell you that story because it can happen to anybody at any time. And so if you suspect that something is going on, if you suspect that there's a scam happening, and that you may be a target or someone in your family may be a target, please call my office, call the Elder Justice Hotline, encourage somebody else. If they tell you, you know, at the library, you're walking around, oh geez, I just got swindled out of 500 bucks. Call and we'll try to do what we can. The final thing I want to say is it's been really tough for consumers and for seniors in the pandemic with respect to scams and frauds, because all of us are in a really tough spot, right? I mean, when this whole thing started, none of us had any good answers for how do we live our lives and, you know, get food or go to the grocery store, or how do we make sure our kids and grandkids go to school, and how do we keep our jobs and our companies running. So it was a very, and still is a very confusing and difficult time to live in. People know that. And so two areas that were really difficult was day-to-day, everyday price gouging. And that's something that for me is very discouraging, because it's discouraging to see people in our community taking advantage of other people. It is never okay. I don't care what emergency we're in. It is never okay, especially in an emergency, and it's illegal in an emergency, to take advantage of friends, family, customers, people in your community, even if you're struggling, right? And I hear it all the time. Yes, restaurants are struggling, retailers are struggling, but so aren't your customers and people in your community. So one of the first things I had to deal with was 2 bottles of hand sanitizer for 50 bucks, right? A box of N95 masks on Amazon, right? It's not just retail stores, on Amazon for 500 bucks. And the hard thing is, it was often not just the retailer, but the retailer would be getting gouged themselves by their suppliers. So if you see that, report it, let us know. We got to stop price gouging, because that really hits people hard. And the other place in which people have really needed our help is in travel and other sorts of event and reservation making. And so since the pandemic started, I've received more than 1,000 complaints about travel. So, you know, you book a trip, you're 65, you know, 65th birthday or 75th birthday or your 50th anniversary, and you're going to go to Europe and the pandemic hits, and you've already paid $5,000 for this trip. And a lot of people were out a lot of money. And so we got a lot of those calls. We couldn't fix every problem, but we were able to get close to $2 million back for people across Connecticut. Often it's just a matter of somebody in my office saying, this is the Office of the Attorney General, can you try to do a little better here, right? And sometimes that'll move people. Sometimes it's a big school trip, right? You know, the junior class or the senior class at a high school here in Connecticut, they all go to Disney, or they go on a trip as part of their history class. And we had to try to get money back for school groups that were out tens of thousands of dollars. Airlines, right? Airplane tickets. Good luck getting someone from American or Delta on the phone, right? And if you had a voucher, or if you want to change your ticket, it's so hard these days, particularly if you book online. So call us if you have issues with that. The big one that was hard, and this is where you really see it, wedding venues. And so many of you may be involved in wedding planning for yourselves, or for children, or for grandchildren. And you know, wedding venues are really struggling here in Connecticut during the pandemic. But couples too, and families that might put $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 down or more for a reservation, if they can't get married, they're out that money. And that's often, you know, a big chunk of what they'd saved up so they could have a great wedding. And so we had to get in and mediate and try to figure out a way that the wedding venue could survive, because these are local businesses that employ a lot of people, and still help our consumers out. So this is the sort of work we do every single day in the Office of the Attorney General. It's the kind of work that affects all of us every day. It's on top of all the other work we do in antitrust and the opioid addiction crisis, and now I'm investigating Instagram and Facebook, but this is the really important work that we do every single day. So please don't forget to send that number out to people. I'll give it to you one more time. The Elder Justice Hotline, 1-860-808-5555. And with that, I want to wish everybody a very, very happy holiday. I don't know, is Hanukkah over yet, or is it still there? Hanukkah's over. Well, happy Hanukkah anyway. Merry Christmas, and hope to see you all again in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you. So much. Really appreciate it. I think we can all identify with this speech. I will. A little gift for you.
Thank you.
And I encourage you to wear the face mask. Gina is modeling it for us, and it's like a walking billboard for our organization.
All right, I'm putting the face mask on.
Okay, wonderful. Excellent. We encourage you to wear it. This is probably as relevant a talk as we have ever heard. I think we can all identify with it. We've gotten the calls. It is just so real. And as soon as you turn 60 or 65, the phone doesn't stop ringing.
Yeah.
I mean, they assume all of us are a little bit naughty and dotty. And so I thank you for your work. I think it's just absolutely wonderful. Oh, sorry. Yes, I can remove it as well. Our meeting can adjourn at this time. I appreciate everyone coming in this room. I appreciate everyone who has joined us on Zoom. I've received a little note from the library for the people in this room. If you don't feel like your croissant right now, they have takeaway bags. So help yourself to a doggy bag as you walk out the door. Otherwise, if there is no other business, we can adjourn, and I look forward to seeing everyone. Happy holidays, and thank you once again, Attorney General Tong.
Thank you.
It was,